Hi, my name is Elijah Adidapo, and today we'll be doing a live demonstration of Pythia's Agentic trading during a live market simulation. There is about 45 minutes till the market is closed today. I did go ahead and pretty much run some different strategies today and kind of figure out exactly what's going on and, just clearing up bugs and stuff like that, and just testing different things and making sure everything needs to look like it's supposed to. So for starters, I want to go ahead and plug in our Surge page, which we're live streaming from now. That's what took me a little while. So Surge is a platform where they're promoting different builders and different to, a community of builders where they can vote and give different points to the user. There's a competition going on right now to see who's the best and who can pretty much bring in, the most ignition points. So if you guys like the product and you like what you see, feel free to go to, surge.xyz/discovery/Piythia, Piythia, and let's get started. So I already have the platform up and running, already logged in. And today I decided to, do a couple back tests. I did 2 back tests today on Apple. So here are the results from Apple. Still a few things we have to clear up. So I'm working on pretty much making the execution stream like persistent after the run. That's one thing that, when I'm doing my debugging and things like that, I think is be really useful for that not to go away and only solely rely on, the fleet intelligence log. But let's hurry up and jump into our live trading. So NVIDIA was the first trading agent that I ran against the momentum surfing strategy. And this has been running for about, it started at 6:33:42. Yeah, this time is wrong. I need to fix that. I just noticed that. But anyways, we can see where it started. It actually started here. I started 11:34 a.m. And I am Pacific Standard Time, so just add 3 plus to New York time, so you can see the stock market is almost closed. Right now, it's still open for a couple, like I said, a couple more minutes. But as you can see, when in this particular run, I'll just get you guys caught up. But this strategy, we risk 10%. This is the total risk amount that the agent is allowed to risk. It bought 47 quantities of NVIDIA at the entry price of $219.43. It didn't sell yet, so there's no realized P&L. But the max drawdown and the row mod and the column R all come from the resulting unrealized P&L over the risk. So we can go in here and look at the fleet intelligence log. We can see that we bought and the order was filled, and it gave us the confirmation. And we can also go into our Alpaca account and see the exact same definitions, right? So here we can see that the price that we bought it for, the quantity, the type of position or the side that we're holding. It's a long, not a short. The market value, the average entry. The average entry is also correct on this side as well, so that part is correct. And then just the cost, and then the total P&L. And as this has been going, it's steady. It cleared some results, right? It's gone down, it's gone up, and the metric, at least the mechanism to sell, hasn't been triggered yet, right? So we have a stop loss that's set just in case, to minimize our risk. I also need to add an indicator to indicate what the system's, or what, Pythia determines what um, the leave price should be, right? The price that is acceptable for the user, and that's all triggered by something that we're gonna like input later, which is going to be, um, you know, the user's portfolio growth, right? So that pretty much means, what's the user's targeted portfolio growth? Is it $10 a month? Is it $20 a month? Whatever that is, that goes into that calculation. Right now, since that input is not in the UI right now, what it's doing is just calculating that based on a number of different mechanisms to achieve that same goal. But for now, what we do have is the risk. So the risk is already being taken care of, right? So it knows that this is the risk that we want to target, right? So just going back to that strategy, we can see in here, it says that the total today's total P&L is $50.64. So if you had set as a user that your goal was $40, $20, it actually would have triggered that to sell. So another thing I wanted to do today was kind of just do like a manual analysis of what what Pythia sees and on underneath, right? So um, so here I'm going to show the live, just some live logs that are coming from the market intelligence layer. So, Pythia is not just a trading bot that's running in the market. It actually uses real-time market data to pretty much figure out exactly how the market is behaving. There's a couple different like calculations and things that it takes to pretty much determine what that stock is doing, right? And I wanted to start this live stream because I wanted to show you how exactly the logs and what I'm seeing actually matches up to the real stock. So before we get started, we have the allocation regime, which is pretty much what I like to call the allocator. The allocator in my product, Pythia, what it does is that it looks at the underlying asset that the user is running the trading strategy against. It goes and grabs real-time market data. It puts that information into bars, which is the open, close, high, the volume, and you pretty much get different bars. You grab a certain amount of bars for certain amount of for different calculations, right? So in this particular case, when the asset NVIDIA, it pulls in, let's say for instance, like 30 bar or candle bars of NVIDIA, and it pretty much reads those bars in several different time frames. One is a 1 minute time frame, one is a 5 minute time frame, and one is a 15-minute time frame. And the reason why you want to analyze multiple time frames because when you look at different charts, it basically tells you a different story on how that underlying asset is performing, right? This bar graph would look totally different versus a 5 minute versus a 15 minute versus an hour, right? So when you're dealing with, a system where you can pretty much target different execution speeds, it's good to look at different time frames and pretty much create a type of matrix and determine exactly when you should buy and sell, right? And so that's the kind of key point in basically figuring out exactly when and where you want to get in a particular trade, right? So just going back into here, so we have what we call the market stress. The market stress can range from different values from normal, catastrophic, waning, all those type of things help dictate what exactly the technical analysis is seeing from the different stocks or the different assets or financial assets, right? Whether it's crypto, options, or whatever, right? So here we have a trend score. So here we're scaling a particular direction and trend to give a better analysis of exactly what's happening. Same thing with the volatility. This metric is to pretty much let the system know the type of volatility that we're seeing. And, as you can see, from our volatility is that the metric has stayed relatively the same up until a point where we've got, I saw a 9 point something, and that's kind of where we detected, you know, a crash. Now, a crash is not necessarily a bad thing. A crash could mean, in this case, with the different with these metrics together, they tell a different story, right? So you just can't look at one metric in particular. What that metric is pretty much telling us is that there's a lot of movement, you know, within that particular, stock. And one thing I noticed as well is that, when I'm looking at this, it'd be kind of useful to have like a timestamp, and and this is something that we're going to publish to the fleet intelligence log, so the user can actually see what signals are driving the changes, to either trade or change these parameters that appear here. Mostly, like I said earlier, that entry to exit, the exit price, and with that, what drove that stop loss, right? And also what drove that entry. So we can see here is that this is the actual live execution stream that's coming in as you read what the current market price is and kind of like map out the time. As you can see, there's like a significant dip here, and that's may have been where that volatility increase came from, right? So, and then we can also do like a correlation and look at the actual graph itself, and it's kind of cool because we can kind of like map out what we see, from the execution stream that we're getting in live, that we're creating ourselves, and what's actually happening in the market. You can kind of see that same kind of dip, that little big dip. You can kind of see it right here. So that actually would have been an amazing time to buy, right? That would have been a great time to buy, and kind of lower our average entry price, right? And then just kind of wait for a sell. So we did that with that 219. That's 220. So you kind of made like a little buck there, but not too much, not too crazy. But there isn't a lot of activity as the market is getting ready to close. But I just thought that was pretty unique. Is that you can kind of see from the standpoint of what's happening internally to what's happening in the broker, and it's all separate, right? This is something that the execution stream is something that's being generated, through its own mechanism, right? It's not, something that we're grabbing from Alpaca itself, right? All of this is like broker agnostic, right? So if you're using Kraken or one of the other brokers that we plan to connect to, you'll definitely see the same type of execution stream. So just going back to that particular execution stream, we can see that we still haven't bought anything, but just going back to that data, right? We can see our state. Our state is showing that it's ranging. So ranging just means that it's pretty stable, right? It's not doing anything crazy. It's pretty normal, and the risk tier What the risk tier basically means is that there's an acceptable amount of risk with the given conditions of that particular asset. Our directional bias, it kind of tells us um, if there's any bias in the direction as if that stock is going. And safe mode is something that gets triggered automatically by the system if it determines that there's something like catastrophic. So, for instance, if the market stress was if the market stress was crashing, the trend score was really was a high number and really negative, and the volatility score is also negative. Um, you know, excuse me, and the state is showing that there's a crash. Um, a combination of those metrics will pretty much put the system in safe mode. And pretty much with safe mode and Pythia, what that would pretty much do is it would halt new entries. The system wouldn't allow new trades to be initiated, and it would pretty much go into a mode where it will basically try to successfully liquidate those assets, right? Liquidate those assets in a way to where it's not detrimental to the users. Like, so for instance, it's not just gonna like sell everything you have just because, right? And because that's not something you necessarily want to do. If you're, if you detect like a crash or something like that, it all just depends on the situation. But safe mode is pretty much that system that figures out if that system needs to liquidate, right? While I was talking, I also wanted to demonstrate that users can pretty much run multiple strategies, or I guess put it like this: users can run um, multiple strategies on different assets, right? So I'm not only running a strategy right now on NVIDIA, but I'm also running a strategy right now on Microsoft as well. I haven't even looked at the Microsoft one yet as well, but you can also see that the Microsoft position is also within our within our table as well within our broker, and it also shows us that we're also trading that asset in Piythia as well, right? So going back to that analysis as well, we'll take a brief analysis of NVIDIA. I'm sorry, not NVIDIA. I'm sorry, Microsoft as well. And you see the Microsoft, its graph looks a little different. Let's see what we bought it for. We'll just go to Piythia really quick. Click here. We can see where our entry price was 407.87, 407.87. So we're a little bit negative right now, just because of like when we bought it. If we started somewhere earlier in the day, maybe we've gotten better results. But so yeah, let's keep looking at that. So it says a stop loss at 404.93. That's a pretty significant stop loss. Let's see what the highest loss was. What was the lowest today? So yeah, it actually even never reached that. So 403. Yeah, I'm not seeing that close, but that's what it detected the stop loss to be, and I'm not mad at it. So it seems like it bought one quantity. The risk amount, it's only risking 407.87, an unrealized gain of 0.16, so 16 cent. Let's see if that reflects exactly what it's saying here. So it's a little bit, so today's total P&L. So you can't go by the total because that's the changes that's the collective of changes that it made at the time that was bought and sold. So there's a little discrepancy with that. But I guess the total, here, let's actually look a little deeper into that. Total P&L, it says it's 60. Did it sell? No, it didn't sell. So unrealized 16 cents, 407. And and the unrealized from there, and that's what I'm saying, it's always constantly changing. So yeah, I was gonna say, so you kind of have to give it a little while. And by giving it a while, I mean like a couple microseconds and stuff like that. But we're definitely working on increasing the speed of which things update, because it's a real-time trading system. So you pretty much want all of the trading metrics to kind of appear um, as soon as possible, right? And we can kind of see here on our graph, this green dot on the execution stream, it symbolizes where exactly we bought this, right? So a good time would have been to buy here. But like I said earlier before, the metric to pretty much enter the exit of the particular asset, it's not in yet, and it's pretty much an arbitrary number that's in there that we're kind of using just for testing purposes, and just trying to get to a good testing point to where we know exactly how the strategies behave in terms of um, when it exits, right? And that's kind of that's the most significant part of like trading, besides any tool, right? It's pretty much figuring out your entry and your exit. You know when should I enter a trade and when should I exit, right? You can set up arbitrary things like, hey, I want to enter a trade when it's a certain percentage above the latest close or high, or you can always exit when you get a 1% increase, and basically just try to repeat and kind of just like nickel and dime the system, and just kind of have a kind of a mining effect of um, a realized gain. So there's all types of strategies that we can use to pretty much figure out a exit. And the reason why it's not in there yet, because I think as a platform, we kind of want to create a way that works for everybody, and but also not be too crazy customizable, because you don't want users to experience like terrible success or terrible losses based off one parameter, right? I would rather have a system where users can pretty much all kind of have the same type of results, and some kind of you know standard deviation away from what's acceptable, right? So yeah, going back into let's take like a manual analysis of what NVIDIA is doing as well. I'm sorry, Microsoft. So here we have Microsoft, and we'll just kind of just go. We'll just try to track exactly what the regime allocation or the market intelligence layer of Piythia is deciding based on how we manually observe the market. We're not going to do a deep technical analysis of Microsoft. We're just going to do a at a glance, and kind of just try to get a stepping point, exactly try to figure out exactly what happened, right? So like I said, I ran this strategy, and this is why I said I need a timestamp. So I ran this strategy at 11:46, right? 11:46 a.m. So if we're going back to our time, our time would have started somewhere around here. So it said it detected a downtrend for quite some time actually. So I would say we detected a downtrend. Just from my knowledge, um, these inputs come in about every 10 seconds or so. Um, and it only updates on the if the change is significant. So we can kind of get like a kind of a pinpoint, like not exact pinpoint of where it is, but kind of a good estimate. I would say the downtrend happened somewhere between here and here. And so what we'll be able to see as we're looking at Microsoft, um, market stress is normal, nothing crazy going on, just average movement within configuration. Then we have a negative trend score, um, zero volatility. Now these, I can definitely tell where these come from. So these looks like it comes from a startup, the startup sequence. So it's basically trying to, start that agent up with enough information. So it probably waited. That's why um, the volatility score is zeroed out. So I'll probably just take this one. This is probably a better read, right? So you can see the market stress. Um, we do have a little bit of volatility, composite score. There's a downtrend. The risk is elevated. We're not in neutral. And then we see that downtrend. Keep seeing that downtrend. And we're seeing a downtrend for quite some time actually. And then we have it to where it's ranging. And this is probably why on the next iteration of this, we'll definitely introduce a timestamp so we can directly map the time and the exact time on what the market intelligence or the allocator sees versus how the technical analysis, right? So we can kind of like manually observe exactly, what's happening um, in the market, right? That would be like a better approach to kind of see like what's going on, in my opinion. Um, so 11, yeah. So I think that's probably where that downtrend came from, and that volatility and that composite score came from somewhere around here. That ranging, that's probably when it started to equal out, like somewhere around here. And let's look at, then it followed by another downtrend. So another downtrend here, small one. Then you have it ranging again. So this would be ranging right here as a technical ranging. So it looks to me, just at a glance, it definitely looks like the market intelligence layer is mapping out exactly how it thinks the asset is performing, or as far as the direction, the volatility, something that you would pretty much have to do um, at something you would have to do as a manual analysis. If you didn't have Pythia, that would definitely be something you would have to kind of just know and be able to read. And then on top of that, with having that layer, going in and making sure to capitalize off of certain um, characteristics in the intelligence can give you results to kind of like, hey, you see this downtrend coming, um, that's when you should pretty much buy and kind of, um, that's when you should enter a position to buy and kind of just hold it until you get to a better position to buy, right? So if you bought here, um, you know, since the recovery, that would have been a great time because that would have been what 407 to 408.62. So since Microsoft itself is already trading at 400, it's not a lot of wiggle room as far as like growth. It's only like $1. So, unless you had like a lot of capital, you really wouldn't be able to make a lot of um, profit off of $1 increase, right? You need something kind of like pretty significant, right? And I'm pretty sure that's why it only bought a few of them. I think I just caught a bug myself, actually. I noticed that the quantity here says 1. So yeah, it's something I'll fix. But like I said, as promised, that's something that we'll, definitely fix. So on the next live stream, we'll definitely introduce three things. Three things are on my list, right? The first is to introduce the exit price, which is calculated by the system itself, right? And then also have a button to where the user can pretty much type in their expected portfolio growth, because that's kind of like how I envision the system to work, is that as a user you pretty much tell the system, hey, I only want to risk 10% and I want to gain $20-$30, right? Per month, per week, whatever metric we decide to use, the calculations will always be the same, right? Because it's based on time. And I want a system to pretty much just run autonomously based off those metrics, right? I don't want to have to go in here and do any manual technical analysis. I've created a way to where the system knows how to do the technical analysis itself and how to react. Um, the thing is, right now we're just training it to adapt to those certain mechanisms and to just be more intelligent when it comes to doing those things. And as users get a hold to a system like this, they can feel confident in being able to use it without risk of knowing that, hey, this is going to use all of my money. The results that I'm seeing on the platform are not the same that I'm seeing in the actual broker. Who's the true source of truth? All the different type of questions a user may have when using a system like this, and also to give them a little confidence on the things that they're doing, because right now I'm able to just pretty much run test at will, pretty much test out different strategies, um, run different tests, run different back tests without having to spend $1, right? And I think that's a great mechanism to have, because a lot of new traders, when they find out about trading and they lose their money, they don't really want to trade anymore, right? It's a lot to learn. Um, there's a lot of like do's and don'ts that it kind of takes a while to kind of start being profitable. And I believe a system like Pythia is the perfect system for beginners, to definitely realize different things that you may not have time for if trading is not your everyday job. And then also for the experienced traders who kind of understand the different things as far as like the sharp, the row mod, the columnar, the max drawdown, you know, all those different things that a user could be able to do, like advanced users can be able to go in and do their technical analysis and also kind of like verify it through Pythia, and build confidence that way. But going back to my other rant, my other tangent. definitely want to get timestamps on the log so we can, next time we do the live stream, we can actually map those parameters to the actual live, what's happening, you know, as far as like the live chart, right? Doing your chart technical analysis, or whatever you guys want to call it, right? And there's one more thing I'm missing. So the first was to do the exit price. The second was to um, put the timestamps in. And then the third thing was to, let's see, what was the third thing? Oh, the third thing, I'm not sure why this quantity thing came up, but that surprised me because I'm like, what? How did that happen? Um, and it didn't sell. So this one is right. I'm not sure why this Microsoft one is wrong, because it literally said that it bought 26. Oh, it only filled. It only filled. It only filled. It only filled one, but it shows that. I think I know what happened. I don't think it's a bug. It says I have 26 though. But do I actually have 26? That's the thing. Yeah, I guess I do have 26. I think that may be a bug. I was gonna say what I thought originally what may have happened is that it did a partial fill and it was only able to buy one, and maybe I didn't have enough capital in my paper account to buy the rest. But it definitely doesn't seem like to be the case. So that's probably like my third and final thing is kind of investigating what happened here. Um, but yeah, so that's the live stream for today, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to go to our surge page. You can chat with the team, and got a bonus, got another bonus. Yeah, so you can chat with the team. You can talk to us on pretty much all platforms, on X. Which is just Piythia. On Instagram, it's just Piythia as well. So I'm not signed in, guys. But here, I do one better. So let's do this. So let's go here. So yeah, you can follow us on X. This is our X platform. This is on X. You can find me on LinkedIn. And if you guys want to email me or anything like that, I'll drop my email. It's elijah.adidapo@pithia.com. And yeah, so that'll conclude today's live stream. I think have 45 minutes to the market, and I guess if we want, we can just kind of just sit here and kind of just observe the market as it's going, right? Oh crap, I think I just sold my keys. I guess I have to regenerate that now, right? Oh, well, that will conclude today's live stream. Thank you, guys.